Hi, my name is Winsley, and this week we're covering how Revels of Carnage in Age of Wonders 4 is broken and gives extra experience. It says here in the tooltip that a target-friendly army gains plus 30% extra experience from combat for the next 3 turns, but I heard from people in my Discord that this is actually giving plus 130%. So I think it would make sense to actually take a look at a combat to see how that works out. Right here we have 6 units that were about to attack these 3 units, and I did a video explaining how experience used to work, but I think they've changed a few things with the Watcher update, and there's probably going to be a few more changes to experience over like the development of Age of Wonders 4. But basically, with 6 units attacking these 3 units, I can say that there is 6 XP for each of these tier 2 units that will get basically shared among my 6 units here. So that's 18 across 6 units. If I attack with just these guys here, then each one will get 3 experience. Um, but I noticed if I took 3 units into attack this, that I wasn't getting uh, 6 experience. I was actually getting, I think it was about 4 experience. And that could be rounding up from like 3.3 or like 3.9, but I think if it was 4.1, that would round up to 5. It's weird how rounding works with experience in all the Age of Wonders games. Um, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's rewind to before that combat and apply the Revels of Carnage to this stack so that we can get more than 3 experience in each of these units. Now it should be 30% more or 3.9, which would round up to 4, but as we can see here, it's now saying that each unit is going to get 7 more experience. I think this guy went up from 26 experience to 33, and this guy went up from, I think, 12 to 19. Now, I do think it is worth rewinding at least one more time, probably 2 more times, to show off the fight with 3 units, one without the Revels of Carnage and one with the Revels of Carnage. It was getting reduced by some factor. I know that it used to be that if you were bringing in uh, less than half the number of units that are in a fight, for example, there's or less than half the enemy units in a fight, then the amount of experience that each individual one of your units would get reduced. It'd be kind of like pretending that you have half the number of units. So say there were 6 enemies in the fight, it would, and you brought one to fight them, it would say, okay, we're going to pretend you actually have 3 here and send some experience to some units that don't exist to kind of discourage people from um, power leveling their heroes too much. Right now, I think it should give me all the experience based off of the old rule system, but instead of giving me all 18 of this experience, it ends up giving me, I think, 4 on each of these guys. This guy gets, no, he gets 5, then this one gets 5, and this one gets 5. That's a total of 15 experience instead of 18, so there was some reduction somewhere. And I'm not entirely sure how that calculation works. If anybody has any information about that, in the I'd love to know in the comments below so that we can get that information to people. I think there was something in the Watcher update about that reduction, but I don't remember actually seeing numbers associated with it. I think they just kind of went over the basic logic behind it all. So if I put Rebels of Carnage on you, it's still getting increased by a lot more than you would expect, but it doesn't, there's still some kind of reduction in this calculation. Yeah, now it's getting 12 experience across all these guys, and it should be 18 times 1.3, but it's like 18 times 2.3, which would take you to more than, I think, 36. Yeah, 18 times 2.3 takes you to basically 41. So there is some reduction in there. It's not a large reduction. It doesn't seem like it's sending a one quarter of the experience or half of the experience elsewhere. But yeah, I don't know the specifics behind that. Now, I know a lot of people would argue that this inconsistency, this extra experience on units like these tier ones, tier twos, and tier threes are not going to make a big difference. But I feel like if you're working towards something like an evolution build, that this could really take that and make it much more powerful. And I really dislike how heroes become so powerful in the late game. All of their signature skills and hero skills do become a lot harder to get as they level up because it requires more and more experience to get to the next rank. I don't think it breaks it down very easily here, but I can use Howard to level him up, and then we'll see basically how much he needs to get to the next rank. But it does increase quite significantly as they level up. Um, yeah, now he needs 12, and if I come in here and I do it again, I think he's going to need maybe like, I don't know, I think more than 14 would make sense. Yeah, now he's going to up to level 6. He's going to need 14. Um, but yeah, if you only need 2 more experience to get to the next level, which gives you a signature skill. That's a pretty big power spike, and honestly, the Tome of Revelry, the tome that it comes from, is good enough as is. It's got probably the best unit in the game aside from heroes because they make heroes so much better in combat. If you didn't watch my stream from this past weekend, I got completely destroyed by a player who was just using a couple heroes and some Skalds and some ice spirits, but really the power wasn't coming from the ice spirits, it was coming from the Skalds, making the heroes incredibly powerful. Their Song to Carnage, very nice, gives crit chance, gives strength, and Song of Revelry gives hastened, which allows you to get into position a lot better. And then if you've got like phase or something on your heroes, you can kill off an entire enemy stack that like has more power than your heroes in one turn before they can do anything. So it's just like ridiculously overpowered and not a lot of fun to play against. To be honest, I think the Scald needs to be heavily reworked or just taken out of the game. I love the design and the thought process behind a Scald, but it just makes the game no fun to play against people who are using this. You can always come up with house rules that say no tome of revelry. It would be cool if you could like toggle certain tomes on and off or other options in the menu. Um, but like things like this are just too powerful, at least in my opinion. I think there are a couple things you could do to make Scalds a little bit more like in line with everything else. Maybe you could make it so that the Song of Carnage and the Song of Revelry don't affect heroes, or maybe you give it something that is more like the Fumble Chance hero signature skill, but it would need a pretty massive cooldown. I think these guys only having a cooldown of 2 is kind of silly. Uh, and I guess another thing you could do is maybe put a hero cap. At one point, they had a city cap, which effectively worked as a hero cap because the number of heroes you can recruit are tied to the number of cities. But I think it would make sense to make like a hard hero cap that you can toggle on in the multiplayer menu. I don't believe there is one. I could be wrong. That would be a bit silly if I got that wrong. Yeah, I did have to check because it doesn't make sense to me why there is no hero cap in this menu for hero settings. There was a hero cap in Age of Wonders Planetfall, and I believe in Age of Wonders 3, and just having that limitation for multiplayers makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, you're going to see people with a stack of 6 heroes just destroying newer players. And sure, newer players can try and do the same thing, but they don't understand what they can get away with in terms of equipping their heroes. I know a lot of veterans like to give their heroes the one hit attack weapons, or the one action attack weapons. The charge ones do a lot of damage, and that allows you to do a lot of damage on retaliations, as well as just if you have something like you get an action back for killing a unit. If you get the warfare signature thing, is it a signature skill? No, it's a hero skill that gives you an action point back. You can make the most out of your units that way. So yeah, I think some kind of hero cap would make multiplayers a lot more fair and also a lot more fun. Even if you've got a lot of experience and you're playing against somebody else with a lot of good experience, if you play the same type of fight over and over again, it just becomes tedious and boring. So I think just for variety's sake, there needs to be a focus on playing other units with something like a hero cap. I also just think in general that this menu is really lacking. It does have a lot of options, a lot more than some games would offer, but I think the Age of Wonders 4 team should look at Stellaris for inspiration here because they've they've added more and more things over the years and it's made the game better. Being able to choose the specific match you want to have has significantly improved the quality of the game and my likelihood to go back to it and enjoy it. But yeah, that's everything I have for you today. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you around. Have a good one.